Well, it's time to make a new video. We haven't had one for quite a while. And this is the build as it's looking now. It's gone through a lot of work. It was stained with two different varnishes. So one red and one which was a lot more brown to get the mahogany color. We could have done this using mahogany, but it's a bit immoral, and if you want to be moral it would be really expensive. So the table was made out of birch, which is a lovely, really hard local wood. And the guy who did this for me, you know who you are, and I'm extremely happy. When I said did it for me, I mean sold me the actual wood. Because it's not that simple to just get a piece of wood. You actually have to get really high quality wood that's glued perfectly together to be able to do the kind of machining that we've done with it. Like making a hole as big as a radiator is actually not that easy, and you don't want any ugly branches to show. So there's 0 marks of that because there was no branches in here in the beginning. So after 12 layers of varnish we actually noticed there was a small imperfection right about here, which was like a sandpaper mark, like 5 centimeters wide. And if you put it under a certain light you could see it, so I decided that it had to be redone a bit. So we added some more stain and did another layer of varnish, and now it looks really good. But like I said, it's still not finished. And I'm going to go through with a little bit more detail now, because a lot of the time people are asking how was this done and how was this done. So like you've seen before, this is the res that was done by my friends at Singularity Computers, and it's made out of a really hard plastic called acrylic. And I think they actually broke 2, and then the third one they actually got into this kind of shape. And I'm so happy that you did this, because this is really the most beautiful piece I've ever seen, at least when it comes to a reservoir. And it goes so well, it flows so well with the build. Like this curve is actually the same curve as you can see. And yeah, it's a mirror finish. You could actually see me there for a second. And parts wise, let's go through the water cooling. We have 2 560 monster radiators, 80 millimeters thick with 8 fans each, and they actually go straight through the table. I'll actually try to show you. So that's the holes for the radiators, and it goes right through and up through the table. And like you can see, the woodwork is done underneath as well. Even though no one will actually look, but these things just kind of get crazy every once in a while. Sorry for the shaky camera again. So we have 2 of those, and they are covered at the top with these fan grills that are custom made out of 3mm sheet metal. So that was actually quite fun to draw up, and these are water cut. We actually did it with plasma cutting first, but turned out it ran too hot and it kind of messed the edges a bit, so we had to redo it. And with the water cutting, the problem is that you get rust, so you actually have to hand sand every hole up to about 2000 grit sandpaper to get it ready for chrome. So the amount of work is not funny, but it will be worth it at the end. That's what I keep telling myself. Now the PSU is actually mounted using our own invention. So the steel you can see here kind of holds the AX1500i in place, but it also keeps 2 hard drives and 3 SSDs here. And that's probably the only storage we'll use for now. This build is more about the aesthetics and probably less about pure performance, even though you could have any system whatsoever running in this, but it's really a showpiece and trying to make something beautiful more than showing off a lot of RGB and so on. That's just not for me. But that being said, so this is the actual table now, and then the back plate, or not the plate, but the back panel out of wood looks like this now. It's really glossy as well, it just shines through. You can pretty much see everything reflecting in it. And also this is 12 layers of varnish, so the finish is just lovely. Then we have the hardened glass that kind of goes underneath. I'll show you something else here. These are the side panels, so these will actually cover up the sides. So that's 3 fan. The 3 fans go beneath this grill, so to speak. Have 2 of those, and also though those have to get chromed. Actually a lot of things are getting chromed. It's not just the legs, and that's actually just paint now. It will get real chrome later. Then we have the monitor stand. Then we have this thing right here, which is the USB and the audio port, and all these round holes that you can see here are actually the the DAC and the amp. It's the ODAC from Mayflower that's fitted underneath this. And then there's the USB 3.0, 4 of those, and then we have some audio jacks and mic. Even though those are never gonna get used because I'm a bit of an audiophile, so I'll be using my trusty 6.3mm plug instead. In terms of audio, we have, like I said, the Mayflower ODAC, and then I use Sennheiser HD650s. And the small little hole that you can see here, that's for the key. Like any good computer, you gotta start it with a key, obviously. And this is how that key looks. So it's actually just this part right here that's gonna come through the table, and all this underneath is just the actual mechanism, and this is the fastener. So the wood goes in between here. Then there's gonna be custom hinges. I don't have them here right now, but these are parts of them. This is just sanded a little bit. It will go all the way to 2000. They really need to look like mirrors before they're finished, so it's a hell of a lot of work there as well. And what I'm doing now is I'm actually doing some of the cable work. You can't see it now, but I'm actually starting with the fans and getting all of those fan cables routed through the table without you actually being able to see them at any point. And they're going all the way to the fan controller, which is here at the side. And that's really the only thing that's poking through on the sides. And the way I configured this was, the first one is going to be the upper row of one of the monsters. That's the bottom row of the same one. Then we go to the next monster, upper row. Sorry, that one. Lower row. Then I'm going to have this is for the side fans, so to speak, and I'll always have those running at the same speed, so they are these ones. And the last one is going to be for the 360 radiator that's mounted inside. That would be right there. And yeah, the inside is not made out of birch, even though it's kind of same looking, but this is actually the same stuff you put on the mahogany runabouts and boats like that. So it's teak and ashtray. It's a really fat wood, so you're gonna have to have very special varnishes, or you're gonna get gas bubbles underneath. What we're using is 2-component diamond varnish. and there's 7 or 8 layers of that currently. This will also get waxed before it's really finished, so I'll actually have all the components taken out, get it waxed, screw everything back together for like the final assembly, and that kind of goes for everything. The inside of this table is actually a steel frame, and it's linked to the steel legs, and then we have a steel monitor stand as well. That's the big hole in the middle, and then hopefully I'll have a 49-inch screen from Samsung. Just trying to get money for that is a bit hard. Like, this is a pretty expensive build to make, so we'll see. Everything will be done with time though, and I'm so happy about how people perceive this on the forums. The feedback has been pretty much nothing but positive, and I thank you for that. And this video is also made for my friend at Singularity Computers, to show everyone there that there's some enthusiasts out there, and they do enjoy their work, and they try to be inspired and try to make it the best they can themselves. Well, enough nostalgia and stuff. These 6 holes are actually for some of the temp monitoring, and then I have 2 more holes here above the motherboard tray, and this is a custom plate right here. Well, actually it doesn't really bear mentioning custom, because there's pretty much nothing stock here whatsoever except for the parts. But yeah, this is it. And now I'm actually gonna show you some of my workshop. And like most of you make do with what you have. So I'm actually in my living room doing most of the work now. So it's just a makeshift room. There we do some of the small sanding that doesn't mess up. All the big sanding is done elsewhere to not get any particles anywhere. And here's a collection of woods. Sorry for this lamp, it's really bright. It's one of those really strong LEDs. But yeah, there's some oak, there's some more of the teak, there's some local oak, which looks a bit different. It's a really beautiful grain to it. More teak, that's just birch. And this is the birch we use. This is actually how it looks before you stain and varnish it. Like you can see, this is just perfect pieces. There's nothing wrong with these. They're dead straight, and you can just make beautiful things out of them. Some of the cables. There's some of the tooling for doing the cable work. I mean, it looks like a mess, but there is a method to this madness. This is just leftover stuff, and there's a lot of it. That's some more wood, also from Finland, which is my friend's. He actually cut it on his own property, and he's gonna use that for another project. Then I do collect some custom stuff, so this you probably haven't seen. This is called Masurbjörk in my language, and it looks pretty spectacular. This is pretty rare and pretty expensive, but a customer of mine actually gave me this. Thank you so much. I'm gonna make something beautiful out of it. And that is the Piston Resistance. This is rare. This is petrified oak, about 2,000 years old. So it's been under the ground when there's been no oxygen, and just preserved through time. It's cut up a little bit now, but this is what I'm gonna make the key out of. Just because I thought it was a little bit fun, like have something a bit biblical, so why not make it out of something that's about as old. So there's a piece of the actual table that we didn't use. You can see the profile. Then there's just a hell of a lot of tools. That's the monitor stand. And yeah, one last thing. I'm just gonna use one screen, but if it ever comes to time that I need to have 3 screens, there's actually already made some fasteners for it out of 1/2 inch thick steel, so it will keep about any weight. Speaking of weights and stuff, the table weighs 140 kilograms and is 1.8 meters wide and about 86 centimeters deep. And this is it for now, and we'll come back with something.